So here's the situation right now. They're talking about peace in the Middle East. And in this peace in the Middle East, here's what's going on. Trump said, this is my plan, and said yes. Netanyahu reluctantly has said yes. The Arab capitals are all agreeing. They've said yes. The Palestinian Authority even, I just now got news, said yes. And Hamas is the only one that has said no, at least for now. And here's the weird thing. For the first time in years, Israel, the United States, the Arab, they're all on the same side of this plan. And my big question right now, and maybe it's yours too, is this the breakthrough that everybody's been talking about? Is this a big, peace in the Middle East, all-out plan, Nobel Peace Prize for President Trump that everybody's been waiting for? Or is this just another piece of paper in this long history of failed deals? And that's the question that we are asking right now. That's the question that we're in right now trying to decide. Israel has reluctantly, with choking feelings, has endorsed and accepted this plan. Benjamin Netanyahu is going to have to sell it to his cabinet, to his government when he gets back to Israel. It's not over. But Jerusalem has signed on to it even officially. Literally, they put the stamp on that, but the price is high. Israel was forced to make a public and humiliating, especially for Benjamin Netanyahu, a public and humiliating apology to the Qatari government. Now, let's get this clear. The Qataris are snakes in the grass. They've been manipulating this whole thing. They could have pushed Hamas into reaching an agreement a long time ago if they had decided to. And let's make another thing clear. The targets that Israel targeted when we went to go for the Hamas leadership in Doha are terrorists. They're as bad as bin Laden. And America went to hit bin Laden in another American ally. But Israel was forced to make the apology, and that apology was a demand by the Qatari government and even by the Arab government to kind of push Israel into a corner. And Benjamin Netanyahu and the state of Israel will reluctantly accept this. The United States has said, this is our plan. This is not a plan that has reached an agreement. This is not something that is negotiated. This is the United States plan, and Turkey has signed on. Egypt has signed on. Pakistan, this is something new that we're hearing, has signed on. Saudi Arabia and Qatar are all in agreement. Even the Palestinian Authority. Now, let's try to see if we can understand something. The Palestinians are represented by two legal main entities. The PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization that was blowing up planes in the 1970s and 80s, became a political government. Yasser Arafat became, kosher, together with the Nobel Peace Prize. And the Palestinian Authority is what came out of the PLO. Don't get me wrong. They're not great lovers of Israel, but they are not the pro-jihad, fundamentalist, crazy ISIS-style jihadis that the Muslim Brotherhood version of the Palestinians, or the Palestinian version of the Muslim Brotherhood is, and that is Hamas. So everybody said yes, but only Hamas is holding out. And the question is, why? What does that mean, and what's going on? Before I go into Hamas, I want to say something about the plan itself. President Trump and everybody keeps on actually portraying this plan, representing it as not just a plan for the problem, for the situation in Gaza, but a all-out plan for peace in the Middle East. Literally, Trump, I think, said it in the press release or in the press meeting, probably about 6 or 7 times. This is eternal. This is fundamental. This is all-out peace in the Middle East. And you and I both know that there is a prophetic aspect to the term all-out peace in the Middle East. And we kind of are worried about this. He sees it as a vision for a regional peace instead of just a narrow, specific ceasefire. And he's trying to get all of the Arab nations to wrap themselves around this peace. Let's put it this way. That itself is historic. I mean, if President Trump can get all the Arab nations together on one path, that in itself will be historic. I'm going to remind everybody that after Israel hit Doha, hit the Qatari capital, which actually had an American military base about 3.5 miles away from where, no, I think maybe a little bit more, 30 miles away from where the strike actually took place. After Israel hit Doha, the Qataris got all upset and tried to bring an Arab League meeting together of all the Arab leaders, basically to condemn Israel. And they were talking about putting some kind of a NATO agreement together. So we're going to be like an Arab NATO against Israel. So if Israel attacks Qatar, it also attacks Egypt, it also attacks Jordan, it also attacks Saudi Arabia. Nobody bought it. Qatar wants to be able to pull its Arab neighbors, and don't get me wrong, Saudi Arabia and Qatar actually cut diplomatic ties about 10 years ago because of fights between them. They're not great lovers. This is a dramatic departure from what the Arabs have managed to pull together in the past, and President Trump is managing to hold them on this path, and he deserves some kind of prize, even if it's not a peace prize, just for his ability to arm wrestle all of these hating one another's more than they hate Israel, into one plan. The heart of the plan is one main aspect. Hamas must disarm. It must disarm. That's been the core issue that's been holding back this for the whole time. The hostages must be released immediately, not 2 hostages here, 3 hostages there. This has to be a full-on hostage release. Okay, Hamas has to agree to leave Gaza and disarm itself. Those are the core issues as far as Israel's concerned. On the other hand, international monitors will oversee the dismantling of Hamas, meaning it's not enough for Hamas to say we will disarm. There has to be some kind of international body that will oversee the dismantling of the rockets, the mortars, the drones, the tunnels, and I'm going to even say more, the radicalization of the Palestinian mindset. If they comply, meaning hand back the hostages, de-radicalize, demilitarize, we will allow the Hamas leadership to leave. Though I will say you this, I don't think anybody who took place in the 7th of October attack should get any kind of life insurance. I don't think they will be able to buy any kind of life insurance. But they will be allowed to leave, and the siege of Gaza will lift, and the rebuilding and the reconstruction of Gaza will begin. The question is, what happens if they refuse? If they refuse, Israel retains the right to go back and finish off what we're doing in Gaza City again and again and again. And this time with international legitimacy. Now, I doubt if the international mindset will give Israel even legitimacy, even if the Hamas breaks the agreement. But that's what we're talking about right now. Peace is offered, but it has to be enforced by a very real threat of military action on the sides of the Israelis. To make this credible, the plan has to create something new. And what President Trump kind of defined it is an international board of peace, which is almost sounds communist in its kind of terminology. Think about a supervisory kind of council, a government over the government. And the proposal is that Tony Blair, who used to be the Prime Minister of England, will be the head of this, and a figure that has enough international stature and weight that his ideas and his, authority will be taken seriously. The board would include Arab representatives. It would include Western powers. It would include neutral inspectors, and their job is simple. By the way, I say it's simple. It's really, really critical to what's going on. Their job is to make sure that all the commitments that are made by Hamas in this and by Israel to a certain extent, are not empty promises, but will be reinforced in real time. That is a lot more complicated than anybody thinks, because who is going to tell somebody who lives in Gaza not to fire a rocket at an Israeli Jeep as they are leaving? Or who is going to tell the people who have been running Gaza all this time and their sons and daughters have fallen in this war, and their rhetoric is the ideology of resistance? Who's going to tell them to give up their weapons, and how will somebody enforce this? And will somebody from Qatar or from Egypt or from Finland be willing to put his life on the line in order to take an AK-47 from a Hamasnik that just now climbed out of the tunnel? So we have to be honest. This is very complicated and very messy. And President Trump is presenting this as his achievement. Netanyahu is agreeing and presenting this as proof that we are willing to be reasonable. Qatar is presenting this as, okay, look, we can bring this to the table. We can kind of solve this. And Israel had to bow. Again, Israel has paid for this, but the tone in Jerusalem, even in Jerusalem, has shifted. And the tone has shifted as a result of the shift that has taken place, and we've been hearing about it all over the place, inside the American political scene. And I'm going to say even more, inside the American conservative Republican scene. I'm going to say even more inside the American conservative Republican Christian scene. And everything that happened with Charlie Kirk's death ties into this. And what we're hearing coming out of the cracks, Megyn Kelly, Tucker for sure, I mean, and I'm not even considering the crazy ones like Candace, are all saying Israel is going to lose this media battle. Israel's going to lose the war because it's losing the media battle. And Israel will have to make concessions in order not to lose the media battle completely. The idea of this agreement is to lower the temperature. It gives Arab leaders all over the Middle East, the moderate Arab leaders, room to present this agreement to their own people. And this is a lot more complicated, because let's make this clear. Even if the government of Egypt is willing to support this, the people of Egypt are anti-Semitic. Even if the government of Saudi Arabia said, okay, we will do this, okay, the people in Saudi Arabia hate Israel. Even if the rest of the Arab world is going to agree to this from a political, economic, geopolitical point of view, the people of the Middle East are deeply, deeply haters of Israel. And let's even kind of, to illustrate this, a poll came out the other day of if there were real democratic elections inside the Palestinian territories, inside the areas that are Palestinian, meaning the Palestinians in Gaza and the Palestinians in the West Bank, what I call Judea and Samaria, if they went to the polls today to vote, they would vote for, listen to this, a Hamas government. And the numbers are astonishing. I think more than 70% of the Palestinians would vote, 60 or 70% would vote for a Palestinian government. Would vote for a Hamas government. That's a serious issue. If Hamas lays down its arms, though, if Hamas says, okay, if this agreement is accepted, Gaza receives huge amounts of funds. The Arabs are just waiting to pour money into Gaza, to turn Gaza into another, I don't know, Doha or another Kuwait of the Middle East. They're dying to do it. But Hamas so far has refused. And I can kind of understand or kind of realize that Hamas cannot give up. They cannot sign an agreement. Israel probably will have to go in because, okay, think about this. Here's the mindset. Israel said yes. All the Arab nations have said yes. All the Europeans have said yes. Everybody's saying yes, okay? And Hamas hasn't said yes. And what happens if Hamas just delays? What happens if Iran starts pushing back to its proxies and starts firing major amounts of rockets from Yemen? What happens if Qatar role as mediator actually starts to erode the agreement that Israel is willing to agree to? All these are weak points, and it could break this at any point. So we are waiting to see right now what's going to happen. The rhetoric is wacko. I mean, like President Trump knows how to do, it's bombastic. Eternity. This is the deal of eternity. The promise is peace will not be temporary. It will be permanent. History will look back at this as the turning point of everything that's happened here. I'm Israeli. I'm Jewish. The only thing that's eternal is that we're going to be here. The test is not going to be the signing ceremony. The test is going to be if the weapons are collected, the tunnels are sealed, the rockets stop flying, and the hatred stops being perpetrated against the Jewish people. That's going to be the test to see what's going to happen. And until then, every promise is only written on paper. Let's step aside from the politics for a moment. Peace in the Middle East has biblical ramifications, has prophetic ramifications. And if there is an all-out peace in the Middle East, we might be looking at the beginning of something completely different. So let's just throw that in there so we're all connected. All right. So that's what's happening. As I make this video, I'm going to say we're waiting to see what is going to be the response or what is going to be the result of this big, massive noise on the diplomatic level. Let's see if Hamas is willing and able and capable to basically sign their death warrant as an organization. And I'm not sure that is possible. Everybody that I'm talking to on the Israeli side that says, well, wonderful. If he pulls this off, amazing. But we doubt that Hamas could have agreed to this a long time ago. A long time ago. And a lot of people would have been alive. Let's see if Hamas is able, capable, and willing to give up the hostages. That's the only thing that they have. They have nothing besides that. And let's see how that works. So that was an overview of what's going on. We're going to be waiting to see what's going to be happening. I am going to be posting more both here on Instagram, on X, and I'm trying to see TikTok. So if anybody has any kind of TikTok knowledge, I'm trying to see if I can connect to TikTok and all of this. But the idea is that we need to have more information coming out, and I've really received a lot of amazing comments from all of you that you like how this is working. So please like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, send this to your children who don't really understand what's going on, or to somebody that you know from church that wants to know what's going on. I personally, by the way, and this is another one, will be flying out to Israel tomorrow and landing in Israel a day before the Day of Atonement, on the Day of Atonement, actually on the eve of the Day of Atonement. I cannot help but believe that this is divinely orchestrated, that I will be in Israel on the very moment when the high holidays actually kind of finish. I will be in Israel on the 7th of October, which is the 2-year anniversary of the event that started off. I was in Israel on the 7th of October in 2023, and I'm going to be on the Israel in the 7th of October this year to kind of connect to this. And I can't help but think that God is kind of lining this up. And again, I will be sharing as much as my experience on the ground in Israel with you as I can. So pray for me. Stay in touch with me. Pray for me and Christy. Christy's not going to be with me on this trip for family reasons. And connect to the Balagan Connection here. Connect to all the different channels. Let me know, is there anything that you want me to connect to while I am there? If you know a church, a congregation, somebody who wants me to connect directly from there, I will make videos from the Mount of Olives for whoever needs this. And on the 7th of October, hopefully, I will be standing on the hill overlooking Gaza and kind of praying and talking about everything that's happened in the last 2 years. Pray for me also that I will be able to get into uniform. I've got a unit that wants to kind of, how do you say, bring me back into uniform for a bit. Probably not to go into combat, but maybe to get on a tank and do a little bit of PR. So pray for me that if that does happen, and if it does happen, then I can climb up on the tank and climb down carefully and everything will be okay. And pray for Israel. Pray for Israel, its government, its leadership. This agreement is going to be signed by Israel, endorsed by the United States, accepted by all the world, even nodded and then accepted by the Palestinians. By the way, the Turks and the Pakistanis are in on this. And yet Hamas says no. And yet the world is supporting Hamas. I can't help but say there's something totally, totally biblical in all of this. And that's why, more than anything, we need your prayer now on what's going on. So that's what's happening now. This is David Tal. This is the Balagan Connection. We need a lot of prayer. We've needed a lot of prayer over the last 2 years, but now is the time to step in. I'm putting a QR code here that is a connection to my merchandise, my connections to the different channels that I'm connecting to. So use this QR code if you want. This will get you to both the Balagan Connection shop and to the Balagan Connection on the different tubes. And if you want to donate to me and Christy while all of this is going on, that would be very, very helpful. And hope to see you soon.